We all have stories. Stories inspired by culture, competition, creativity. Stories show our humanity. They inspire us to greatness and remind us to be humble. Stories connect us to our communities and the rest of the world. We are the Chutta people, and these are our stories. See and share them at togetherwe'remore.com.
It's called Hollywood! Lights, camera, action! Hollywood Brown! CD Lamb still running! Into corner! CD! For the TD!
People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Through the Keyhole. It's an Oklahoma football podcast. We are back. It is the live stream for the patrons. Patreon.com/Through the Keyhole if you'd like to join the show live and drop comments and leave questions if you are so interested. So we love our patrons, and as they periodically trickle in here and there, we'll say hi to them and have some fun. But, even though Oklahoma football breathed its last breath last Friday against the Alabama Crimson Tide, we still soldier on for the seemingly endless, 40 years in the desert chase for number 8. But, we're going to be there, hopefully, when that happens. But you get 3 of the 4 horsemen this evening. Believe Matt Burton is on Christmas family duties for the evening. I just said duties, ha ha. But got 3 of the 4 horsemen. So Alan Kinney is here. Alan, I forgot to ask you on No Cap Recap, because this really only matters from a particular patron who asked me the day of the game on Friday. But considering that now people that are able to watch this via the live stream or on our YouTube channel, Keyhole Sports, we finally got over 100 subs there. So thank you to everybody. But you can always watch the show as well after we've recorded it. But now people kind of have the impression that you like to ski. I had a patron ask me if you actually like skiing, or do you just have that picture behind you?
Oh, yeah. No, I love skiing. I was a ski lift operator once a long time ago in Colorado for a season. Haven't been able to go in forever, though. It's not in the cards for me right now. But, yeah, no, I love skiing. Yeah.
Can't say that I've snowboarded. I got bad advice once when I was in college. Hey, I've never done either. Well, snowboard. You'll have more fun. And boy, did I not. I think that next day I just laid on the couch and watched the without moving because I was so sore. But I watched the Seahawks and the then, well, I won't even say it because of our title sponsor, the Choctaw Nation. So I'll show some love in this and by respecting it. But the soon-to-be Washington Commanders, it was the game where Trent Williams punched Richard Sherman. But I remember watching that game from the couch of a cabin in Durango, Colorado, the day after snowboarding, and I'm not built for it. Yeah. Not built like Alan Kinney. But Peyton Guthrie also here. Peyton, how are we doing today? Have you seen the light following the disappointment that was Friday evening?
Oh yeah, I never lost sight of the light. I mean, I've seen this season as a complete success. Obviously it was a smashing over the top grand slam success. It was still a success all the way through. By the end of that night, I was already over it. We're down in Dallas in the Keller area for some family vacation, family holiday stuff. People flying in from Maryland to come hang out with us. So. It was fun. Went up, hit up the ice in the Gaylord. They had an elf exhibit or whatever from the movie, because all the carved ice exhibits and stuff, and had a good time down at the Wolf Lodge or whatever. So spent a lot of money that weekend. So that was probably
you went to Great Wolf Lodge.
They do a thing I don't want to go, but the family you wander around and there's stuff to buy and there's hot chocolate. You know how it is.
Yeah, they did one of those ice things.
Little Texas, little.
Oh yeah, I've been to that Gaylord there. They did one here up in DC a few years back where it was Rudolph, the classic, claymation or whatever one, and man, it was really weird because they make you put on this big coat before you go in and stuff, and it's
big blue parka. You have to wear it. Yeah, against the rules not to wear it. The whole thing. I'm on top of that. I have been skiing on, but when my favorite time is when I went. I used the ski blades is what I'm seeing in front of me, and that was a lot of fun because I fall
those
down
like
way
little
too
tiny
much for
short
the normal
skis.
Yeah. I was able to like jump and stuff. I thought it was cool.
Pirate Sing soundly in the chat. Good patron of ours. We appreciate him. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to be snowboarding in Denver anytime soon. But I am, and I'm a complete and utter third wheel in this conversation about the Great Wolf Lodge. Can't say that I've ever had the pleasure of, I guess, going there, but nothing fun. I'm just going to Ardmore. I'm going to Norman and Ardmore for my Christmas. I mean, yay! Nothing against Norman or Ardmore. We appreciate Ryan Royals and Jermaine Gresham a lot. Quickly, Peyton, the sponsorships still apply, yes, or now that the season is over? This is a on-air production meeting.
For Homefield, still the exclusive apparel sponsor for another 8 days. Go check them out. Holiday, if you got any last second Christmas stuff, which you will not get in for Christmas, but you can do the little printout thing and put it in the stocking. Or if you want to do like a little New Year's thing. Hey guys, because remember, sport doesn't end with just the football season. We got basketball, we've got softball, we've got baseball. Hey, the Homefield Apparel website has a lot of really cool OU softball gear as well. So go check that stuff out. Keep sponsoring the home team, the home field over there, and hopefully they'll have us next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't worry. Porter Moser is going to save the day, everybody.
He's got the Russian asset.
Kittle, I don't even want to. I was on the radio. I was filling in for Matt Burton for his show today from 3 to 6. And I tried to say this gentleman's last name, the big 6'11" Russian center that OU and Porter Moser just got for midseason reinforcement. So, I mean, we will see. But Comrade Kirill, come on down to Norman, Oklahoma. Also, and is that it, Peyton, with the sponsor? Because again, I'm not fully abreast to when these, considering that the season's over, does it just abruptly end with everything else other than the Choctaw Nation, or?
Oh no! And then we also have for another 8 days. Go hit the Spirit Shop. We got Christmas. Get your eggnog ready to go. You're going to need him up on the Spirit Shop, and also your New Year's party, guys. Go get loaded up, and remember, for New Year's or for Christmas, you got the in-laws coming over. You really don't want to deal with it all. They'll deliver. All right, unless you're needing to get out of the house, go hit them up. Spirit Shop down there in Norman.
Responsibly. And then when you're ready to start the new year right, don't forget about Kaizen Performance in Norman, because everyone's going to be wanting to go to the gym, get a head start on the new year. Go to Kaizen.
And by the way, if you're a regular gym goer, this really is something that gets my goat. Do not be like shaming these people who are trying to get in shape or, work out and starting the year off right. And then you complain, oh, it's the new year. All the newbies are here, blah, blah. Don't be that guy, man, or girl, or whatever. Don't do it.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Peyton.
So as an avid gym goer, I will not lie. It does get a little frustrating, all the normal stuff you use being taken up. But if you are an avid gym goer, take this as a chance to spice up the gym routine. Go use some machines that aren't normally used. Have a chance. You have experience. Go and test that out when you're down there.
Hell, I've been going to the gym 5 days a week for the last, 4 or 5 years. And it's still hard to do it. It's still very hard to keep up that routine. It's, at this point, it's kind of a part of my life, but it's still very hard to do so. And whenever the first rolls around, the New Year's, I kind of look at it credit to them. This is hard. This shit's hard.
Exactly. So don't be shaming them, man.
Yeah, come on in. And Garrison at Kaizen Performance will take care of you. It's not intimidating in the least. Garrison is a very interesting man. If you look at him, you might think, I could lift more than you. And then he'll grab you with one hand and then kill you because he's incredibly strong with his bare hands. So not that he will want to kill you, but if you do challenge him, then he will meet that challenge, which is something the Oklahoma special teams couldn't do against Alabama. But, oh, well, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, Patreon.com/the Keyhole, like I already said. KeyholePod.com if you want to go read Alan's post-game thoughts against Alabama. I don't know how much we'll talk about the game because we did no cap recap in our tiers, in our feelings on Sunday. Our patrons have exclusive access to that. So if you'd like to hear our post-game thoughts, please go check that out on patreon.com/throughthekeyhole. But then don't forget also to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast and Spotify. We will greatly appreciate that. But yeah, guys, the season's over. And as much as I was excited about the matchup with Alabama, as much as I was excited about the potential path OU had in front of them, if they beat Alabama, they go to the Rose Bowl to play Indiana, the number one ranked team in the country. And this is OU. So you always welcome challenges against the number one ranked team in the country anytime you can get them. And it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. But Alan, it's weird. This team was simultaneously fun to watch and quite the chore to watch. I mean, every single minute of the game was just, please don't screw this up, please, or please make something happen. Please make something happen. And I'm sad that the season's over. There is the adult part of me that understands that there's more to life than OU football, that is kind of happy that, okay, I don't have to stress myself out on New Year's Day for the Rose Bowl against Indiana because it has been mercifully ended for us.
Oh, see, that's I'd actually just want to watch like one more game just to have like a New Year's Day game to be like really heavily invested in personally. I don't care if they win or lose at that point, but yeah, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Of course I care, but yeah, it's just, especially we're in this weird kind of space now where like bowls used to kind of be this, I don't know, reward for the team. And I guess in a certain sense for fans for kind of making it through the end of the year because, the national championship, there was no postseason tournament or anything like that. Now, you're kind of left with this weird feeling where like, I mean, OU had a really good season. They, but they didn't win the SEC. They didn't win a playoff game. I mean, so like it's just kind of a weird way to, there's not the sense of like closure that you've had that you get a lot of times.
Yeah, in previous eras, like this is the 2013 team that didn't play for didn't win the Big 12 that year, but they go to a BCS Bowls and at-large and they beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, and you feel so awesome about the offseason. And maybe that masked a little bit of what needed to be fixed because 2014 was yikes. I wrote about this on the Monday post because like I just said, in previous eras, there is no playoff. There's no 12-team playoff. And even in the playoff era, 10-2 Oklahoma does not get into the 4-team playoff format. So they're probably playing in the, I'm not as familiar with the SEC bowl tie-ins classically. I don't know, like what's the Cotton Bowl equivalent? When I think of the Cotton Bowl, I just think of that's the second best Big 12 team if you don't make a BCS Bowl, right? Like back in the 2000s, that was it.
I think so. Although sometimes they send them to Sugar. I think it'd be like the Gator Bowl or something like
Gator
that.
Bowl,
for the SEC.
So yeah, like in previous eras, you play a helmet school in the Gator Bowl, and maybe Brent Venables gets his first postseason win, and you're 11-2, and then you just skyrocket into the offseason with like all this optimism. But as it stands, we're all pissed off because the Oklahoma Sooners had a 3-minute and 11-second nightmare that undid their playoff hopes and left us all a sour taste in our mouths. But again, maybe I'm trying to find some hope and optimism here, guys. Maybe that's what the team needs, the program needs, in order to avoid any type of complacency. Like, hey, made a lot of strides. There's a lot of room to get better. And winning the Gator Bowl who knows? Could have blinded some people, very important people, in order for OU to get much, much, much better. But Peyton, it's, like I've made peace with the fact that, that 3-minute and 11-second nightmare happened. It just really seemed like two really good teams. One team made inexplicable mistakes. The other team capitalized off of it. Ultimately, it just wasn't meant to be. And maybe it was just a kind of a reminder. And again, this is a weird way to look at it because OU had great chances to win the game, and I would have loved for them to have won the game. I wanted them to win the game. But maybe that 3-minute sequence was just kind of like a reminder that you've made improvements, but you're not there yet. And you need to kind of check the boxes X, Y, and Z in order to like avoid that 3-minute sequence, or at least be good enough that when mistakes do happen, that you can much easier overcome them in game when you get to this stage, if you ever do get back to this stage.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You probably saw the tweet that Parker put out about how bad the team is beaten by somebody, and it shows if you strip out some of the randomness, I guess, or the plays that are hard to replicate. It shows OU having, quote unquote, had a better game than Alabama or whatever. Like Alabama, technically, based on their performance, upset Oklahoma from that perspective, right? From that side. And that's something that's kind of hard to deal with as an OU fan, because you think, oh, wow, this just kind of solidifies my thought that if that 3 minutes and 11 seconds, shout out to 311, doesn't happen, Oklahoma was able to, get away and put it down. But to me, it's more the fact that Oklahoma ran for 1.7 yards a carry. Alabama ran for 1.1 yards a carry. These are basically mirror images of themselves team-wise. Two really good defenses with offenses that were very one-sided. When Oklahoma's succeeding because the passing offense is going a little bit better. The only difference being Alabama has a much better and consistent offense with the quarterback they have, as well as the professional wide receivers. They're able to lean on and rely on from that side to get it done. And if you really look at it from that side, there's a really, really interesting YouTube video I watched, and I'll share that on my Twitter account later. But basically, the guy breaks down kind of like the adage of defense wins championships, offense wins games, defense wins championships, and he kind of went through the idea of an EPA over the span of a season, as well as its predictive success or whatever, how predictive it would be. And at the end of the season, offense production, offense EPA is much more of a predictive qualifier or whatever for a win or a loss of a team rather than a defense. A good defense truly doesn't give you a strong enough of a prediction of what team will be able to win or not. And basing your predictions off of offense is a much better way of seeing who would win, which is a big reason why a lot of people were chirping about Oklahoma being in the playoffs in the first place, because the offense wasn't quite there. And for something of that nature, it can really kind of make me think of what happens if this team takes a step forward, just a single step, not like a huge Herculean step or all of a sudden it's a top 10 offense or something, but just a step forward. This is a much, much better team on that side of it. But this team has really opened my eyes a lot about how to watch Oklahoma football, how to watch college football in general, and also how not to get baited quite so easily on Twitter with media accounts talking about how lucky a team may be or something like that. So a lot of good lessons out of this, Team 131, I think that's the team. So hopefully we're able to continue that stuff moving forward.
Yeah. That's a good way to kind of characterize it, is this team kind of educated the fan base in a way that it needed to be educated, just because it had been so long that you had an elite defense that could mask a lot of flaws that your team overall has. The last time OU had a defense this good was 2009, and who knows how good that team could have been, because it was ultimately undone by injury and having to rely on a bunch of newcomers on the offensive line that ultimately were not able to at all replace the offensive line from the year prior. So who knows how much better OU would have been in 2009 if Sam didn't get hurt, or hell, they probably could have been pretty damn good if Sam still gets hurt, but Jermaine Gresham never got hurt. Just imagine if Landry had Jermaine Gresham to throw to in 2009, along with Ryan Broyles instead of just Ryan Broyles. So, as it stands, OU's defense elite in 2025, got them into the playoff, but it's just right now, it just kind of the whole kind of rallying cry is just, you went from an offseason where you had the fan base clamoring for just an average offense. Just, come on, Alan, give me an average offense, better slightly better quarterback play than Jackson Arnold, and they got it. And this is exactly where it led. Is you had the SP plus rated 50th offense in the country in Ben Arbuckle's first year. John Mateer, could it have been better if the hand injury simply never happened? I think based on what we've seen from John Mateer when he was healthier in September and then at his healthiest since his surgery in the playoff game against Alabama, I think you could reasonably say, yeah, it probably would have been better. Not much better because John Mateer's flaws, but it would have been better. And so now we're going to, assuming John Mateer comes back, because you never know in the transfer portal era or, whatever. I mean, he can technically declare for the draft. Who knows? But assuming he can come back, like the hope is just you make a significant jump on offense. And whatever Brent has to replace on the defense with all the guys that are either declaring for the draft or graduating, because there's quite a few, you hope you don't dip that much on defense. So, I mean, based on what you've seen from this offense, from Ben Arbuckle mainly, and especially from John Mateer, like, is it okay to optimistically hope that they can make a jump offensively if they get guys to come back that need to come back?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I think personnel wise, this group on offense this year was so limited. I mean, I thought they did a great job getting a lot of production out of guys like Isaiah Satania, right? But Isaiah Satania is not, a number one superstar college football receiver. Giovanni Gibson, that he was supposed to be the next big thing, breaks his leg before the season started. So who knows how that affected things. Running back room was a nightmare just in terms of health. I mean, I think if this offense does not make a significant step forward next year, including which would involve also, bringing in some people through the transfer portal to fill some of those, spots on in the skill positions. I mean, I'd be very disappointed, be the way to put it.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to tease like the future talk because I know it's off-season mode now, unfortunately, and so everyone's going to be like wondering who's portaling, who are they going to portal in, who's declaring for the draft, who are they keeping, what's the projection look like, blah blah blah. Table that for just a few minutes because I did want to get a quick little like reminder segment of the 2025 season, and I wanted to start with you, Peyton, but just kind of like rapid fire thoughts, like a particular moment that sticks out to you when you're going to go back and think of the 2025 season. What sticks out in your mind as like the moment that you were the most excited, happy, optimistic in your Sooner fandom for the 2025 season? We'll start with you, Peyton.
No, I mean, to me, it was the start of, I don't know how hollow it sounds to say this now, but it was the start of Red November. R. Mason Thomas returning the fumble, for a touchdown in a Tennessee game, a game in which was, if I have have it in my head right, Tennessee was very likely driving down the field to take a 14-0 lead.
Correct.
They score extremely fast, opening possession. I mean, Oklahoma gets into a 3rd and long. Looks like they're going to be the first one ever to do it. And, stop them on their opening drive. And I think it was a penalty that extended it or something like that. Then Tennessee just flies down the field, scores. Oklahoma does nothing on offense. And then Tennessee flies down the field again just for R. Mason Thomas and Owen Heineke to wreck shop and score a touchdown. Then Oklahoma was able to steady the ship and move forward and win that game, basically keeping the season alive. I mean, that game, away game, high pressure after losing to Ole Miss, to me is basically saying Brent Venables is a coach for Oklahoma. It can get through this stuff because, a different team, a different coach. It's looking like you look at that schedule remaining: Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, Missouri, and however you feel about them. You don't finish 10-2, right? I mean, none of us had them finishing 10-2, going down that stretch. So to me, that Tennessee game, and specifically that play, because that's the type of play you have a chance of seeing on like SEC highlights and stuff like that for the next, 5-ish years or something. So I think that's that turning point of saying, oh, this team is for real and has a chance to make some noise. And they made some noise down the stretch.
Absolutely. And I was there. I did not see the play live because I was in the bathroom. So maybe I just need to stick to staying in the bathroom during OU games. Maybe I'm the problem. Alan, what was your moment from the 2025 season that sticks out in your mind?
Well, yeah, that fumble return definitely, kind of stands out. But if, in terms of a game, I mean, I really didn't think that OU had much chance of beating Alabama this year. And when Eli Bowen picked that throw off and took it back for a touchdown, that was the moment where I was like, okay, OU needed a play like that to win this game. And suddenly, all of a sudden, I believe OU has a 2-score lead. I'm feeling pretty good about the way it's heading. So to me, that was a really, really big moment in the season.
Yeah, and no doubt when it after you had calmed down from the excitement, you did realize and then admit that, oh, that's a play that's not repeatable. It's not indicative of how good OU is on defense. We're honored to have a 2-score lead in Tuscaloosa, but we understand that if we're lucky enough to end up winning this game, that it really it shouldn't count. And as we all know, when OU and Alabama play each other, there are no interceptions returned for touchdowns. That's against the rules and is not going to be repeated. That's how that works. Mine is going to be a play that I actually did see in the Tennessee game. But because with the way the game went, I mean, OU in the second half played much better offensively. They appeared to be the better team, but there was always that kind of thought in the back of my mind that at some point the balloon's going to pop, right? And then Tennessee's offense is just going to catch some fire. At the time, Tennessee was the winner of that game was still very much in the playoff conversation. Tennessee season kind of went south, but I think a lot of it had to do with OU just beating them in that game, in my opinion. Who knows if I'm right, but it's kind of the way it seems. But with the way the second half was going, it did feel like OU started to become the better team, but I was still always freaked out that if their offense caught rhythm, I don't know if our offense can match it. And then at kind of the climax of it, in that moment when OU just simply needed a drive just to kill clock, Xavier Robinson just right through the hole untouched. And it was such a slow developing play, even though it was very apparent that he was going to score. He ended up, of course, downing it at the 1. But it was such a slow developing play that I just had the chance to hug everybody around me, all the my friends, Jordan and Dave, and random people around me. So it was just a fun moment. That's probably what I'll remember the most about the 2025 season. So, oh man, it was fun, but again, it was still quite a chore to watch this team. And at least they made it interesting at the very end. Interesting, good and bad. But Peyton, we already got a little bit of Alan's kind of thoughts in terms of what you can realistically expect from an offensive jump from 25 to 26. I do have a story coming out on Sooners on SI tomorrow that just kind of goes over teams in the SEC over the last 2 seasons, the previous 24 and 25, that had offenses that were pretty bad in similar spots, similar to OU this past season, that made significant jumps in 2025. One of them was Texas A&M, and in 2024, I think they were 23rd or 24th in the country per SP plus on offense. So they weren't bad, but them jumping up into the top 10, certainly that's in a much better spot. And theirs is a little bit easily explainable, and I'll get to that in a second. But the common thread between Vanderbilt, who jumped from 60th to 4th, Arkansas, even though they're a bad team, their offense jumped from the 40s to 16 from 24 to 25. And then I mentioned A&M. The common thread, obviously, is continuity at the quarterback position. And I know some people may not be thrilled of the prospect of having John Mateer return, but I think just forget for a few seconds everything that you know about John Mateer, or that you think you know about John Mateer and what he can and cannot do. Peyton, I think that there's just something to be said about just simply having continuity at that position, and most importantly, him and Ben Arbuckle having now a year under their belt of experience in this conference, and where everything won't be such a culture shock, maybe that can kind of lead the charge for OU to jump from the 50s in SP plus on offense to maybe like 30 or sub 30. Dare we dream for that to happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff there. There's some good examples of Vanderbilt and Arkansas. I would say if you look at Ole Miss, number 3, that's a first-year starter.
Uh-oh.
Number 11, first-year
Peyton
starter.
having
Indiana 6. Mendoza's first year at Indiana.
Mm-hmm. This is Mendoza.
He's averaging
Mendoza's
close to 300 yards per game. And then when he's hurt, he's averaging for this first year. Okay, sorry. I had a lot of stop and start there. I apologize. Hopefully, my internet's caught back up. But healthy Mateer is averaging a little north of 300 yards a game. Injured Mateer is averaging 150 yards a game.
Yuck.
And then when he's healthy again, he's averaging over 300. So I think maybe if his thumb isn't broken, you're looking at an offensive jump, which gets you into that 30s, mid 20s range. And any sort of semblance of a consistent run offense is getting you pretty high at that point in time. But to me, I would say it's just about weapons around them. Vandy had a tight end in which Oklahoma would have loved to have going all the way back to Andrews, on that team. So from that side, but if you just look at just passing yards, I mean, Mateer's good until he breaks his thumb, and then he's bad until LSU, at least yardage wise. I mean, it could just be just that simple for that side. But no, to me, there's a continuity of talent on the offensive line that will create something that'll help out a lot with the quarterback position, or just in general, the offensive production on that side.
Yeah, and this is where my brain kind of goes to, like, what's the next step in this process of trying to get better as a team? And that's like what the front office, like what their job is to do now. And Jim Nagy in this front office to go out and get the players that help John Mateer just be better, that help mitigate his flaws. And there are many flaws. But I mean, Alan, like where my brain kind of goes is, this time last year, there was no Jim Nagy. He was hired in February. So after the first portal closed. And so he would only have been here for about a month and a half until the spring portal opened. And now there's no spring portal. It's just the one portal that opens on the 2nd and closes on the 16th, which again, as a reminder, that doesn't mean that you have that amount of time to get players out of the portal. That's just the window of time that any player, if they decide they want to go to the portal, that's the window of time that they have to decide that they want to go to the portal. So you have all the rest of the time to like sign guys out of the portal. I'm tired of saying that word, but you didn't have Jim Nagy last year. And also you had Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, Allen, but they were an unproven commodity duo in the SEC. And while it wasn't pretty, I'll go back to my article. It's dropping tomorrow. I mean, Marcel Reed at Texas A&M, especially as the season wore along, not that much to like, oh yeah, I want to play with that dude. Like Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion picked A&M probably because of the cha-ching factor. But I do also think that there was something to be said about, okay, they're returning Marcel Reed, who's a third-year quarterback at A&M, I believe, going into this season. And while the numbers weren't the most impressive, it's still like an experienced quarterback that, okay, I can simply plug and play into this offense, and on paper it should work. So now Jim Nagy has John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle. Hopefully, if you're able to retain John Mateer, you have that duo to market to a potential number 1 or number 2 receiver should Isaiah Satania go to the draft, and you have to go out and find multiple guys. It seems like it's a much easier prospect for Jim Nagy to go out and try to find someone who is then also interested in Oklahoma, because there just simply wasn't much interest in the Sooner offense last year just because of the lack of, I guess, proven commodity with Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer in the SEC.
That's a fair way to put it. You worry that if someone's trying to sell a receiver on going somewhere else. Maybe there's some film out there that they might have of John Mateer that would hurt OU's case. But I think that no, for the most part, you've got an established guy there, and they're looking for weapons for him. That's a big plus. But I when it comes to Mateer, I don't see any way that he's not. Let's put it like this: OU would not tell him to hit the portal or whatever. He's not. The chances that something like that would come up seem pretty slim, right? He's not going to. If it's either NFL or OU next year, right?
Yeah, I've read some. I can't remember. I can't give credit, but I know I've read something that John Mateer is like a top 5 projected quarterback in this class, and that has more to do with the fact that this class sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
right.
Is that enough for John to say, screw it, I'm just going to go? If so, then I guess OU is going to be like, all right, Bo Bentley, I hope you're ready as a true freshman. Mm-hmm. And there might be some fans that are like, thank God. And who knows? Who knows? That opens up the door to the conversation about Ben Arbuckle needing to just hire his own staff. If you're going to go all in on the Arbuckle experience, like, go all in. Don't just pussyfoot around, but we'll get to that later. But Peyton, how do you see, knowing what we know with Jim Nagy, knowing how we knowing where he came from in terms of like, yeah, I kind of want to moneyball the skill position players. How much of that was out of necessity because he got here late in the schedule, in the calendar? How much of it was because there wasn't that much to market to prospective players because you had no idea what John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle were going to be like in their first year at OU? How do you see Jim Nagy's job now with a full year under his belt and a more fully realized version of what this offense is and what this offense needs?
I think what you're really running into, and I get the outlook of wanting to look at, okay, Nagy's got his feet under him. Now we've got stuff. I think what we were seeing in reality is what was going on in November and in December, in which Oklahoma's 2026 high school recruiting class kind of flipped around a little bit, and Oklahoma was able to secure some high-ranking guys like towards the end. And basically that was, all these coaches aren't about to get fired. This team is actually good. It seems like they've got something to build on. I don't know if a lot of high talent in the portal or in high school were like, banging at the door to sign up for a coach who's gone 6 and 7, 2 of the 3 years he's been a head coach. You know what I mean? I think just winning took care of that. And now you have to go from that side. So no one's going to take discounts, especially now how these teams are throwing money around. And for the people who are saying we need to go get somebody and get Mateer, I don't know how true all this stuff is, but I'm reading that the top portal quarterbacks are asking for $4 to $5 million.
Yeah, that's
and that's just like, so we're going to raise the QB budget 2.5%, whatever, 200% more to get somebody who may not be as good or better than Mateer at this point in time, and potentially mess up the 5-star quarterback you just got out of high school. So to me, you just hold on to him. I think he's fine. He's not going to read the field like he's Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. He's never going to do that. He's a good college quarterback. If he comes back, you should feel pretty damn good about everything going forward. It just depends on if the Old Dominion wide receiver they get or something like that, or if we get Rocky Beers or something out of Colorado State, if those guys bust at a level in which would be helpful, because as much as I was talking about on the No Cap recap, I think it's like 68% of that playoff roster is high school preps. You still got 32% of this team that's transfers, and a lot of those are out, and you got a lot of people declaring to be gone via the portal or the draft. And Oklahoma just needs to spread that money. They need depth. They need players at position. So I'm not for sure if Oklahoma is currently at the position right now to say we're going to go get a Cam Coleman, come on down, we'll pay you $2 million or something like that. And honestly, I'm not for sure if that's a smart thing for Oklahoma to do, as they seem to be a team that's trying to build things through the high school ranks.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing about all this is, now that we have the season in the rearview mirror, is like, I dogged on the whole Moneyball aspect. I like, especially in the offseason, I'm like, we're relying on guys from Kennesaw State and McNeese State to like be huge players for us. And you know what? Yeah, no one turned into Mark Clayton or CeeDee Lamb. Isaiah Satania, who was about the only guy that I was actually excited for, because I just randomly happened to catch a handful of Arkansas games over the last few years. And I'm like, I know that he can do it. I think that he's a better version of Brennan Thompson. I think he can do more than Brennan Thompson. So I see that as an upgrade, but I don't necessarily think that he's going to be your number one guy. And as it turns out, he did. But Allen, like, Jim Nagy found a bunch of guys, and Giovanni Gibson, Jermichael Carter. He found guys that produced, and they produced in a season where their quarterback couldn't grip the football for a majority of the season. So just like Peyton mentioned earlier, like, healthy Mateer is averaging near 300 yards a game, and unhealthy Mateer is a 150-yard pedestrian quarterback. But if you're able to keep Giovanni Gibson, Jermichael Carter, and of course you get John Mateer to come back, I feel good about those guys in the receiver room. And if you're able to accent them with, you try again with, maybe you have to go out and get another McNeese State all FCS all-star and hope that they explode. But again, I think you just have a little bit of a better hand to go out into the portal to maybe entice a more higher end player, because I know Casey Concepcion was like a big target in the portal. Was Mario Craver like a gigantic, got to have this guy like across the country from Mississippi State? Because he was a baller at A&M this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was pretty coveted, if I recall. And like, the thing of it is, though, is like, I almost feel like A&M is an argument for why you go out and spend the money.
Absolutely.
Because, those two dudes, I mean, that was their offense this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of have a different take on Nagy. I mean, Giovanni. So I guess the question becomes, like, who was Nagy really responsible for last year, right? Because, like, Giovanni Gibson, for example, he came in the spring, right before Nagy was hired.
In the spring, that would have been, well, like, he came into
the
winter.
Probably,
so I guess,
he came in, in the winter. Yeah, sorry, yeah. I mean, so, like, those are things, I don't know. I mean, one of Nagy's biggest signings was Jaden Odd, so we have to keep that, I guess, in mind. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they turn up from beating those bushes. I mean, that's what he was charged with doing at the Senior Bowl, right? Was, turning over all those rocks. If you can find, like, guys who are physically, in the Giovanni Gibson or Jermichael Carter type, range, bring them in, do it. But I do hope they go after some kind of established or, like, consistent production that they can kind of lean on, just because, I mean, so often those guys kind of turn in, the FCS level guys. I mean, you find a few gems, but lots of busts, I
mean, the other hope is just that Emmett Jones does his job and develops one of these dudes to be fucking good. I mean, Elijah Thomas is huge and big and he makes cool tackles on special teams, but can you please play offense? I don't know what needs to happen, but it needs to happen. I don't know why we have a receivers coach and we just say, like, portal in some second or third year player and put them out there because they're already good. Sucks. All right, gents. Well, I guess as we're kind of looking ahead to 2026, I mean, what about the job Brent Venables did, Ben Arbuckle included? Overall, what did this program do for you, Peyton, that gives you hope for next season? Understanding full well that there's going to be players that need to be replaced, questions that still need to be answered in terms of, like, is this guy coming back or not? In this off season, we'll find that out hopefully in the next handful of weeks. But just from a general standpoint, what gives you hope for next season based on what you saw this year?
Well, what gave me hope was that the team didn't fully I'm trying to figure the best way of phrasing this, because I could poke hole in it. But I think the thing that gave me the most hope was that Brent Venables and the staff never seemed to fully panic. I mean, they never like scraped an entire offensive scheme to get ready for the next week or something like that. I mean, the only thing you could maybe say is a panic move was bringing Mateer back early for the Texas game. But if we see his production, bringing him back at all was going to be early, so if he can play, at that point in time, because based on how his thumb, like even in the playoff games, they're like, it's still not pain free, but he doesn't have to wear the thing. So it's like, okay, so he wasn't fully ready to come back until like the playoff game or the LSU game. You might be able to see at that point in time. But there wasn't like, it didn't seem like you have this coach who's doing something. You think, what are you doing? Like you're panicking completely. I mean, the team Oklahoma lost to, this past Friday, in the SEC title game, Kalen Boer's going for it on fourth down, like on his own 20 or something. I was like, oh, you're admitting this game is over. This is it. And Oklahoma never truly seemed to panic in that way. And they just stayed true to their guns and said, this is what we're going to do. And this is our identity and we're going to stick to it. There is something to that. When the whole idea of like, what's the definition of insanity, banging your head against a brick wall or whatever, except expecting it to change or whatever. But in football, banging your head against a brick wall, usually good things tend to happen. If you keep doing it to a certain degree, fix it with aggression. So to me, that was a bigger thing of not seeing them panic completely from a system and freak out. There's so many small things, like I've talked about it relentlessly on this podcast, that I don't know ever will be fixed. Substitutions, knowing when you should slow jog people out, knowing when you should take the time out, knowing when you should be hurrying up versus slowing down, all that sort of stuff, which is just, I don't know if Brent will ever be great at it, but I think from a large scale side of it, looking at the macros instead of the micros, I do think him holding strong and just kind of saying, here's who we are. We're not going to try to, the Solid Verbal talked about this quite a lot about Oklahoma offense when it was like extremely bad. They're like, it's bad, but they don't try to not do something. They try not to be, go crazy. They know who they are. They know what they can do, and they just do it, right? As best they can and go from there. They're not all of a sudden like, all right, we're all going to 5 wide every single snap. We're going to do hurry up now. I mean, they just stay true to themselves, and that, allowed them to get to where they are. And hopefully that will provide dividends in 2026 when more of these guys have more snaps in the system and stuff like that from that side.
Yeah, I mean, we can poke holes in individual spots. He's the head coach, so I guess it ultimately falls on him. But the only time that I could ever remember, like, why isn't someone stepping up in this situation? It was obviously like the final drive of the first half against in the Texas game. Like that's the only time. But that could have been Brent's fault. That could have been Ben Arbuckle's fault. That could have been John Mateer's fault. I mean, it was just so odd. I've never seen like a team kind of in that situation, in that spot, and that's what happened. So it's really hard to kind of place blame somewhere. In terms of just like what you were talking about, Peyton, game day, decision making, game management. He's probably never going to be perfect at it, but this was the first year where it didn't really jump out at me, so maybe it was just a neutral, which is a vast improvement. I just don't want to know. I don't want to see the coaching staff and Brent Venables celebrating after a fake punt so hard that they get a delay a game inside the 5 that ends up being, much longer to distance to score a touchdown. Then you ultimately miss a field goal. So that stuff didn't happen. And in fact, I mean, you could argue Brent Venables with a coaching decision flipped a game that OU could have very well lost against Missouri and won it with the timeout that forced Missouri to say, screw it, we're not going to go for it. And then they tried to kick the field goal and it got blocked. And then 2 plays later, Isaiah Statani houses it for 75 yards and flipped that game for good for OU. So may never be an excellent game day tactician like a Nick Saban or something like that. Probably not, but certainly showed an ability to be more aware of the situation game to game this season. But again, that's just something he's going to have to keep up because he was on his P's and Q's this year because he knew the stakes. Does he kind of go into this offseason with that same mentality that my job is always going to be on the line because I'm the head coach at OU? That's going to be a big thing. But for you, Alan, like what exactly, it could be the same thing Peyton mentioned, or it could be something completely different. I mean, what gave you hope for next season moving forward with Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle based on what you saw this year?
Part of it was Brent Venables built a team the way he said he was going to do it. You look at, a lot of emphasis on the trenches, defensive line, offensive line. They've recruited well. I mean, it took them longer than I would have liked to get the offensive line to, from a personnel standpoint, get there. But, they built a team that he promised, at least, from a toughness and a body style mentality standpoint, that, I think that it was a vision of the program going into the SEC that he wanted to, kind of realize. And I think we saw it this year. Now the next thing obviously is getting the offense fixed. But I mean, it's trending in the right direction. And, that's without having like a, 5-star quarterback back there or whatever, I mean, we saw how that went with Jackson Arnold, but, there's a new great hope, kind of join the program. But no, I mean, I mean, the stuff about Venables that really rings true is he's just, a football coach type stuff. You get a very unvarnished look at him, it feels like, all the time when he's talking, but it's always, I mean, he's ball all the time. And I felt like this team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, just plays with that kind of relentlessness. It's, that part of it was really gratifying, I think, as a fan.
Yeah. And I think even in 2024, I think we even kind of talked about it a handful of times when we wanted to say something good about that team. I mean, one thing we never really questioned was this team loves playing for Brent and they answer to him. And when you're that bad last year, I mean, we've seen countless college football teams over the 20, 30 years we've been watching the sport have seasons that were better than last year and still crumble. I mean, look at LSU. They fired their coach and they went into our game at 7-5 before they, ultimately lose to OU in that final game of the regular season. OU's players under Brent do not quit. And so I appreciate that. And even this year, this team was relatively very one-sided in terms of the defense shouldering the load, especially in that last month in November. But still, this team still answered to John Mateer. They still look to John Mateer to be their quarterback, to be their leader. And while a lot of that credit goes to John Mateer just as a leader, just as a teammate, as a guy in the locker room, that has to do with Brent Venables as well, just leading a team that here is the organizational chart. Here are the leaders, and we all agree that they're the leaders, and we all answer to them, and we are all held accountable by them. And so all that needs to happen is you obviously get upgraded in terms of talent at certain positions of need. You hope that certain players make leaps going into next year, like maybe a Taylor Wine or the 3 freshmen on the offensive line. I think we all assume that, well, they played the entire year. Basically, they're just going to be better, right? That's the hope. But if all those things happen, everything is there for Brent Venables and this team because of what he's built. And Peyton, you've been on that train, you and Alan, but I remember you saying it a handful of times this season and even last season that the fingerprints of a great program are there. And it's because of how Brent has chosen to build this thing. And they're just, at least this season, it was like the first year where we really got to see that, that idea bear some fruit.
Yeah, I think it was it Stoya who wrote that article about 4 years into this? They talk about the culture and the change, from a fan perspective.
Man, I feel like we're missing something profound here.
I know. We need to go tell Peyton, go tell Amanda to turn off her Wi-Fi on her phone. We lost you out. There he goes. Yeah, he's going to try again. So we'll
now
get
I
Peyton.
Can't hear anything because I'm assuming Peyton was the host.
I can hear you. Uh-oh. Well, I'll try to drive it. as much as I can. But yeah, I mean, like Venables has been able to build a team and a program that's, I mean, his first task was trying to fix the defense. And then his next task was trying to retain talent on offense to continue the offense's, I guess, ability to be elite. Because, you know, you go from Lincoln Riley to Brent Venables is going to be a little bit of a drop off, right, on offense. And initially there wasn't, because Jeff Lebby and Dylan Gabriel and Marvin Mims and all those guys were still pretty damn good. But the further we got away from that, those offensive numbers started to decline. But even still through that decline, like the team still answers to Brent. The team still answers to their quarterback, and they look to their quarterback to be QB1 at OU. But we got Peyton back. Alan, can you hear me now? Uh-oh. Can anyone hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, though. Okay. Can you hear me?
Alan had to dip, I guess. Okay. Well, we'll get Alan back again. But Peyton, we lost you when you mentioned the article that George Story wrote, and that was it.
Yeah, but he talked about just the amount of culture building and foundation resetting that Oklahoma needed to do under Brent Venables that people from the outside couldn't quite see, right? I mean, we look at stuff from a game-by-game perspective, or, you know, as a former friend of the pod, I'm sure current friend of the pod, but he seems to step away from the college football space as much. Rob Bowern said, wins and losses, that's fan stuff, right? It's about the day-to-day. It's about the process. It's about building a team and building a program. Brent Venables had a much larger job than I think any one fan wanted to admit to. That it seemed like the president, the AD, and Brent Venables, all three of them were in alignment saying, this is going to be a job, right? This is going to be something that has to get done. And it's something that OU fans, myself, Brady, you had mentioned it, Alan to a degree as well. Obviously, you weren't on the podcast when we were first starting this stuff under Lincoln Riley. But Oklahoma had been kicking the can down the road so long, right? Like, we'll just keep plastering over the issues. We'll keep putting a new coat of paint on it. It's like, you know, they're treating Oklahoma as like a rent house. Like, instead of making the fixes, just another coat of paint, and it should be good to go. It's OU. Brent had to rip it down to the studs because it got ripped down to the studs. So he had some help there with Lincoln Riley's departure, obviously, but it was a foundational reset that needed to happen under Oklahoma. It did, and those things don't happen overnight. Those things do not happen overnight. I mean, look at the teams who are big time portal guys. They just don't work as well as much as you think they would. I mean, obviously, Indiana's still playing, Ole Miss is still playing. I mean, they're big time, portal guys, portal teams right now. But it's just not always going to work out. You know, I think I remember Bomani Jones on our podcast with Alan. He talked about the portal, and you're bringing all these guys in. If you're a team like Oklahoma and you're bringing in players from other P5 schools, you're probably getting a bunch of losers, a bunch of quitters, right? They quit the former team they're on going there. But if you're getting guys who are like elevating up or graduating to the next stage, maybe there's something you can tap into from that side of it. So there's both sides of that stuff, but I think that was something that really kind of opened my eyes, just reading that article about George, and good job on him. That's a fine piece of writing and reporting, getting those guys on record to talk about that stuff. Just Brent had to do a lot more than what I think any one of us assumed, and he seems to have got it done. Now the trick is to do it again. Now the trick is to maintain.
Yeah, and what was surprising to me about that too is that they entrusted that job not to like a proven head coach, but to, an assistant. Now, obviously, he knew Oklahoma very well, and he had, plenty of track record to show that he knew how to coach. But it's different when you hire somebody for that kind of project. I mean, you think about what the sales pitch had to look like, to get that kind of buy-in.
Yeah, that's true. And while I agree with that, Peyton, overall, it's an industry where, yeah, like the wins and losses, those are for fans and it's about the process, but you don't get to partake in that process if you don't win enough, especially at a place like OU. But fortunately for Brent, he won the games that he needed to win in terms of the numerical amounts this year, because I think we all would have loved for them to beat Texas, You're going to lose to the Ole Misses that happen to be amazing that year in this conference. You're going to lose to the Alabamas. You have to play them twice in a year. We understand that signing up for this conference. Please beat Texas next year. Please beat them. And I guess this next thing is the other side of the coin is what exactly, and Peyton, I'll go with you while you have good Wi-Fi. What gives you pause about next season? And does it have to do with anything foundational that you saw or did not see this year? Or does it have to do with, they are going to be they're going to be losing a handful of talented players, especially on defense. And you never know if John Mateer is capable, if he's coming back to make that leap that we hope that he can make. So it could be individual players. It could be foundational. I mean, what gives you pause for next year?
I mean, the pause for next year is just the collection of skill talent Oklahoma has out wide at tight end and at running back. So, the entire offense. No, I mean, I think there's consistency at the offensive line, which I feel really good about. And the quarterback position, I feel pretty good about going into next year. But it is about getting wide receivers, getting a complete brand new tight end room, and getting hopefully a difference maker at running back or health at running back in which you can have a difference maker there. We haven't seen it happen in Oklahoma quite yet, right? I mean, the players have been good under Oklahoma, especially out wide in recent history, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, have been guys they recruited, stuff like that. Now, there's a couple small ones you were able to get in, back in the day, Jalen Saunders and all that kind of stuff. There's guys who sprinkle in there, but your true number one guys, your true guys who are your difference makers, those are guys you get early, you hang on to them and go from there. Oklahoma, I don't think Oklahoma's gotten somebody like that in the last two classes in which could jump into that number one starting role for Oklahoma next year, which means you're going to have to go out and get somebody like that, which will obviously be extremely competitive to do that. If someone's good enough to be wide receiver number one in Oklahoma, they're good enough to be wide receiver at any college football team. So it's going to be very difficult to do that. And then, as Pirates sleep soundly say, you need to get 2, maybe 3 tight ends, to get this room filled out. Hopefully they get Rocky Beers. It'd be interesting, kind of a get from that side of it. Actually, it's odd. Oklahoma, if they get who they want, probably gets 3 players off the Colorado State Rams team, which is just insane to think about. But to me, that's the only thing that gives me pause, which is, you have to reload at wide receiver and you have to reload at tight end while everyone else is also trying to do it. Do you get enough guys who are difference makers to help keep John Mateer from having to be, as I mentioned earlier, a Peyton Manning type or a Tom Brady type where he's going 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, all the 2 guys wide open, or the 1 guy's wide open. That to me will be the only thing I have pause on that side of it, because I have no evidence that can be done at Oklahoma so far. I believe it can be, but until I see it, I'm going to have pause right there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fair. There are examples, like I mentioned earlier, of it happening, but until OU does it, it's just an example that isn't OU. And hell, I mean, when it comes to tight ends, Peyton, if you're a good tight end, do you want to play for Joe John Finley?
I mean, I don't see a reason why you'd want to, but I think of our OU fans here, we've all been listening to a lot of stuff. That may not be a problem, but who knows? From that side of it. But
it's almost
we can only
Christmas.
Talk about what we know.
It's almost Christmas, and I don't want to wish for anything bad to happen for someone's career. But again, like I've said before, when coaches get fired, this isn't like the 70s when the factory closes. Like Joe John's going to get a job. Like it's going to be fine. What is this? Heard X declared for the draft. Like Xavier Robinson? Xavier Brown?
He's able to.
Yeah, he is a second-year player, I believe. He was a true freshman last year. Well, if he did, I mean, that would be news. But if he did, he'd have to talk to the media. And Xavier Robinson does not want to talk to the media, good or bad, especially if you have a gigantic drop in the playoff game. And I like Xavier Robinson. So, but yeah, it is what it is. Like I don't want to wish for something bad to happen to somebody, but I mean, my goodness, the evidence, like the track record is not there for the tight ends. And I mean, you can potentially drop a bag more so to entice a tight end to come here and play for Joe John Finley if that does not happen. And I get it, guys. Like, I've read the same stuff you guys have read, but I feel like we were in this position last year, right? Because wasn't there like a strong rumor that it was going to happen in terms of Joe John being let go, and then it didn't happen? Whether or not it was Brent trying to do the Bob thing of get another job and that job never came, then okay, but Brent, you should have just taken care of business. But oh well. So things will need to happen. And as Pirates Sleep Sound, he puts in the chat, my bro texted me that. He could be wrong, had not verified. Sorry. Don't worry about it. We appreciate you trying to relay some info in real time, and it makes for fun stuff, especially for listeners listening to this after the fact and like, what? Oh no, not him. Alan, what gives you pause overall for next season?
I mean, Peyton nailed it. It's the lack of skill position development, I guess, would be maybe the way to put it. The past 3 years, it hasn't been there, and you know, not a lot about this season gave me any confidence in that. So, yeah, I mean, to me, that's it right there. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of comes down to how much do you buy into John Mateer would he have been marginally better had he never been hurt, or would he been significantly better if he had never been hurt? Because I think the main thing to think about is John doesn't need to make a Heisman Trophy winning level of improvement. He just needs to, I mean, what was it? 14 and 11 was his TD interception ratio, and he had 8 rushing touchdowns on the year, something like that. I mean, if you can get up to 24, 26 passing touchdowns, keep those interceptions below 10, and maintain like 8 to 9 to 10 rushing touchdowns, that would probably mean OU's offense makes a significant leap. And that's not a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback box score. So we're not asking him to become Baker Mayfield or anything like that. So that's why it seems like that should happen. If he comes back, like, this is your 4th year in this offense and your 2nd year at OU and your 2nd year in the SEC, like, make it happen. And if you're healthy, we've seen you be able to make throws, both deep balls, medium range balls, and short range. Like, you can do it. Just don't get fooled. Don't get tricked. Did you watch the all 22 of his pick six, Peyton?
Oh, yeah. He makes the signal. Wide receiver seems to be staring right at him. The wide receiver doesn't do what signals says. It was going to be a broken up pass regardless. Because
it doesn't. Yeah, it didn't. That part of it didn't matter. Yeah.
I mean, how can he get tricked?
Yeah, I mean, he looks right at the wide receiver and goes.
Well, my question is, like, how can he get tricked? Like, Hubbard, like, veils, right? And that just means cover one, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm not an X and O's wizard like everybody else is, but I don't know.
I mean, like, look, Mateer made a lot of strange decisions this year. Like, yes. we just have to admit it, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, another thing that gives me, like, kind of some pause in addition to John Mateer is if that improvement comes, he's going to have to show it pretty quickly, because at Michigan, at Georgia, Texas in the Cotton Bowl in your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season, he could make a lot of improvement. I know you could be not particularly good record-wise. We're going to find out pretty quickly. We don't have to spend that much time on it. I linked the wrong article in our show doc, guys. I don't know why it was the Kendall Daniels story, because I hadn't looked at that one in weeks. But I corrected the link if you need to, like, have a list just to reference real quick. It's at the bottom of the page. Oh, we don't need to spend that much time on it because we've already gone over an hour. But does the amount of players that OU will have to replace on defense, knowing that Brent Venables is a defensive coach, defensive genius, he's a proven commodity when it comes to recruiting, developing, and getting guys onto the field to play at a high level. But does that numerical amount just kind of like give you some, oh, I don't know if we're going to be elite on defense next year because that's a lot, and they stand to potentially lose a lot more. I mean, as of right now, you're losing Kendall Daniels, Robert Spears-Jennings, who put out an announcement that he was declaring for the draft. I guess he technically had one more year of eligibility because his first year he didn't play the 4 games. So he could have used a redshirt year, I guess. But I was just always under the impression that this was his final year of eligibility. So
yeah,
an odd announcement, but I don't want to take anything away from him. But, thank you, Robert. So Kendall Daniels, Robert Spears-Jennings, Dominic Williams, Marvin Jones Jr., Kobe McKenzie, R. Mason Thomas, Gentry Williams, Kendall Dolby also started a game this year, even though his season kind of ended pretty quickly. But in addition to that, they could lose Kip Lewis. They could lose Owen Heineke because the NCAA won't give us good news. And, even a guy like Peyton Bowen could potentially say, like, I'm going to go to the draft. So does that kind of also give you pause about, hey, like, we're all hoping and praying that the offense makes a significant jump, but what if the defense, like, doesn't maintain like its standard that it's kind of set for itself? And Alan, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, yeah, look, it's going to give you pause to lose that many guys, and these are well-known names. We think about who's leaving, but I don't know. I've got confidence. I've seen what they've done in 4 short years. They can get there. They can replace these guys, and I think keep it moving. Will it be as good as this year? I don't know, but I'm very hopeful. I'll put it that way.
Peyton, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, as long as David Stone, Jaden Jackson, and a couple other defensive tackles are on this roster, I feel pretty good about Oklahoma's defense. And I don't think that's going to change. Hopefully, that doesn't change for them at that side of it. But, I mean, teams lose about 38% of their roster every year now. It's just part of the game, and Oklahoma's just one of many teams that have to replace a bunch of guys.
Yeah, I mean, really the only position that frightens me is just linebacker, because you're asking Sammy Omosigho to, like, he's been a fine player, but I believe one of our patrons mentioned it, or I've seen this somewhere. Someone responded to something we put out, I think, about Sammy Omosigho, and I'm intrigued by him too. And he's a nice player, but he does seem to be out of position a lot, and he stands to have a lot more responsibility next year. So, like, he needs to improve. Like young players like Taylor Heim and James Nesta are going to be looked at to maybe make bigger impacts. I mean, to me, it just seems like they're either going to beg and pay a lot of money for Kip Lewis to come back, which would be great, and it would help the cause, or they're going to have to portal in like 2, possibly 3 linebackers and hope that they all play well together and that they are all individually good. Now, again, it's defense. It's Brent Venables, so you err on the side of, like, they're probably going to be good, no matter if it's a guy who's already here or that will be coming. Because just like with Lincoln Riley, Alan, whenever you'd lose receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, it's Lincoln Riley. I'm sure they're going to be good next year because it's a proven commodity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you're selling if you're Brent Venables, is a track record with linebackers and just defense in general. That part of it, I do feel like, I mean, when it comes to evaluations, especially at those positions, Venables has a pretty good track record. I think that they'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Reggie Powers. He played well this year, so that should be a hopefully as seamless of a transition from Kendall Daniels as you can have, because Kendall Daniels was awesome this year, but no RSJ. That means more Michael Boganowski or Jaden Hardy, who had some moments, but overall just a young player. So we'll see. But I mean, Peyton, you already kind of mentioned it in terms of, like, as long as the defensive line, and that includes Taylor Wine, who's going to factor in heavily next year with a bigger role, a lot more hype. And then guys like Danny Okoye and PJ Adebayo. I mean, PJ, like, to me, that's a guy that made winning plays. Is he the 5-star can't miss recruit that we were kind of hyped coming out of high school? No, but that's not his fault. He's become a good player, and I have some pretty high hopes for him that he can build off of this season. When you lose our Mason Thomas, you're going to have more opportunities, because what I saw out of him was a guy that made good plays, made winning plays on a consistent basis, pair that with Taylor Wine and Danny Okoye, you feel good, even though, like, surprisingly, you feel good about it, considering you're losing an NFL stud in R. Mason Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I think where he's going to fit in really, really well, and I think I've talked about before, is that he's going to be more that Ethan Downs kind of guy, where he's more setting the edge, holding on there. Something you talked about, making winning plays. Right? I mean, Oklahoma needs to have a guy like that to not get pushed around. And then you have Danny Okoye, who's going to be, all right, just be our Mason Thomas for the next 2 years. I mean, you slide into it. Say, congratulations, your job is to go get 8 sacks, on that side of it. The pass rush will falter some because you may not have, you're losing Holton, who obviously was explosive in that defensive tackle spot. I don't think Oklahoma, Stone did a very good job, hit a lot of tackles for loss. I think only had 1.5 sacks on the season out of that spot, but still having multiple guys who can be pass rushes from the interior. That's the stuff that really changes things. If you're running from the edge, we see good quarterbacks now, they know how to step up, step into the pocket and then break containment. But if you're able to get a rush right in front of them, that's just a lot harder on that side. When it comes to the safety position, stuff like that, anything we can get more Mike Bogg and get some more Reggie Powers out there. I'm not sure anybody's going to do any crossing routes in Oklahoma. Now, if they can play all 12 games, will be interesting to see, from a ref perspective and personal foul perspective. But these dudes are going to be able to blow some guys up over the middle, and that will be really interesting to see on that side of it. When it comes to the linebacker stuff, I get it. You're losing guys, but I don't know. Like, were we like super excited watching Kobe run around trying to cover slot receivers or something? I'm saying? Like, he was really good playing that mid-80s style linebacker of, I'm going to get into the A gap and smash somebody. But beyond that, I'm not sure it's somebody I'm like losing that much sleep about. Depth, obviously that sucks. But if you're subscribed to a thing, or you're watching somebody's Discord or something like that, Oklahoma's got some they've got some irons in the fire, which I think the linebacker spot will be taken care of pretty well. And then, Brady, to talk a little bit about that John Mateer interception, they're showing man, and they seem to drop into an inverted Tampa 2 there, which kind of really just confuses Mateer off the top. But anyway, what are you going to do? Showing man and going to a zone is just tough.
He's a one-read quarterback, and you can
especially one read when you're trying to do a hot route because you think they're bringing 8. I get it from that side. He got baited and he took the bait.
Yeah, one-read quarterback, and you can still be great in college as a one-read quarterback. And what helps is getting better skill position talent. And we were over here for like 30 minutes talking about projecting how like OU and Jim Nagy can go get offensive skill position players to want to come here in the portal. It's going to be a lot easier for Brent Venables, Todd Bates to like go to a defensive lineman or a linebacker and go like, you want to play for me and go to the NFL? A lot easier job for that one. Moving over to just college football at large, guys. We don't have to spend that much time on it. But just overall, the easy answer is like, yes, it makes me feel better. But like watching the other playoff games, Alan, it was just, everyone can sit here and say, especially Notre Dame's like, oh, we should have been there. Screw them. They weren't here. They had other things to do, I guess. But, like watching Miami and A&M like pillow fight each other, it was a competitive game on the scoreboard, but it was a very disgusting game. As disappointing as it was to watch OU kind of fumble an opportunity in their own stadium, I was there in person. It sucked. But, watching other playoff caliber teams, I'm like, yeah, like we know what we need to get better at. And if we do, like, dude, we're like right there. Like none of these teams are like, man, they're far and away better than us, and there's no hope. I don't get that impression from at least these first round games. Go ahead,
I was going to say the teams in which you would say, wow, they're way ahead, far and better than us, they didn't play this weekend.
That's the one thing. Yeah, that is the one thing. But I think that when it comes to the rest of the field, like looking at these teams, I didn't see a huge difference between them. I felt like Miami and A&M just didn't strike me as particularly good teams. I felt like, obviously watching OU Alabama, I think that Alabama, I'm starting to buy in more to the idea that they were really kind of hurt by the amount of guys they had held out in the SEC championship game against Georgia. Getting those guys back has kind of been a boost for them. Oregon, I feel a little bit worse about their chances of advancing after this. Just the defense just isn't there. I mean, Ole Miss has already beat OU, but I don't feel like OU's that far off from them. So, no, all in all, I mean, I felt pretty good about where things are trending, but OU needs to get better. Yeah, that's going to be it. I mean, that Georgia team is so young. They are going to be they're going to be a tough, and OU's got to contend with teams like that now going forward. If they want to get to where they historically consider themselves, the standard.
Yeah, and the SEC is like, yeah, OU, you're going to not only play Texas because they're your rival every year, but you're going to play either Alabama or Georgia every year. Texas, on the other hand, nope, none for you. Only the basketball schools in this conference for you. I mean, Peyton, I guess, kind of an off-the-wall question for you, since you had mentioned that, yeah, like the teams that are far and away better than OU right now, they're not playing. Well, Indiana is a team that is built completely differently than OU. So as Indiana, like for that, like to project them, like, do you feel better considering if they did it through the portal? They're a unique situation because they are not a football school. They are not a football power by any means necessary. And they have to do it this way, I guess. In order for them to be here, they've had to have done it this way. Plus, Kirk Scanetti is an amazing coach as the head coach there. So, compared to how you feel like positively about OU and what Brent Venables has done, like the way he's built this program up to prepare it to get to that point, hopefully in the near future, when you watch Indiana play or when you project to watch them play against Alabama next week, I mean, do you foresee thinking like, man, like I wish OU did that, or I wish OU went after those types of players? Or is it just like, Indiana's just kind of caught lightning in the bottle these last 2 years and they're making the most of it?
Well, I want to do a slight little thing here about Texas is future schedules. Even years, they need to make hay. Odd years, they will play Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, and A&M. That's just tough. And Auburn. So their odd years, at least for this little mini schedule thing they released, is pretty fucking rough. I will not lie to you. As a Texas hater, though, can't wait to see them lose 4 games. On the other side of it, Kurt, he's just done it everywhere he's gone. I mean, that's a harder point. It's hard to say, because sometimes, he's coaching at different levels and he's working his way up everything, right? And then he keeps winning, but it's like, well, wait until he gets to the next stop. And he does it again. It's like, okay, well, wait until he plays a big game, and then they win a big game. And it's like, well, wait until to me, I think they beat Alabama next weekend or this coming weekend by double digits. I think there's a better football team. I think they're better balanced for that. I think they win. They've already beaten who I considered potentially the best football team in the nation, which was Ohio State. They handled them not easily, but they were able to get past them. No, I think he's just probably just a really fucking good coach. And you hear how he structures practice and stuff about keeping everything fast. And he's like, we have hour practices. That's it. We get guys in, we get guys out. So we don't want them beat up. We don't want them banged up because it's going to happen on the weekends during the games. Some of that stuff's a little revealing. I was like, oh, wow, this is because you look at him, he kind of looks like a old school football coach. And he's saying stuff like in, out. We keep hits down. We keep them physical for the games. It's not something, I'm used. And maybe it's something Brent Venables should have send his staff to Indiana to be like, how do we keep our guys from getting completely torn to shreds? It's like maybe we stop hitting each other so hard during the week. But I'm not entirely for sure from that side of it. But is Indiana in a better place than Oklahoma? I think maybe that's a question that maybe cutting to the point. In Oklahoma just has better access and continues to pull in better and higher talent through the high school recruiting ranks, in which I will always, always, always lean towards that. Bud Elliott, villain of this podcast, I will say. He doesn't know he is, but main villain of our podcast. Blue chip ratio there. Indiana's not on there. I don't think they'll ever get on there. And no, it's been very, very tough for someone to break through when they're not on there. I think the main thing you need to do is get talent, and Brent and Nagy and all them, their main thing has been getting talent in Norman. So how that turns out on the other side of it, we'll find out. I mean, they have to find another quarterback. They've got to refill 2/3 of their roster, I think. So it will be tough to see what they look like next year.
Yep. Anything about Michigan, guys? Like, I guess we ruined their hopes and dreams for Kalen DeBoer, but I mean, who knows? Like, I kind of going into the the Alabama game on Friday, Alan, I tended to think, like, I feel like I've seen reporting like this before, where it's like, it's going to be this guy if this happens. If not, here's their plan B. Whenever that seems to happen, it's always some plan C that hasn't been reported. It's like this surprise hire. And so I thought that going into the Alabama game. Now, of course, I did expect OU to beat Alabama. So that was the understanding that Kalen DeBoer might be available to talk to at the very least in a few hours. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I mean, how do you still see like what Michigan's going to do? And again, it's important for us because OU sees them second week of the season in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I mean, the name today that was out there was Jeff Brom, who I think is a very good coach. And so I could understand why he'd be appealing to Michigan. He also has experience in that conference. But, with DeBoer, I think that ship probably ended up sailing. So I just don't know. One of the interesting parts about this, though, is like if you believe a lot of the reporting, like Michigan should have been preparing for a new head coach like months ago, even if they were doing it, kind of on the down low. But I don't know. I got to imagine at this point, you do start to wonder if like making Biff Poggi the full-time head coach for at least a year seems appealing. I do think though they kind of maybe got to go outside the Harbaugh tree for the long term and make a clean break from that.
Yeah, I mean, what would this be like? I almost said OJ Mayo. What was the New England's head coach a year ago before they fired him?
Oh, Jared Mayo?
Jared Mayo. Is it like a Jared Mayo situation where we want somebody, but they're not available yet?
Something, or just like maybe the timing's all messed up, or I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird how like coaching searches are going to go. It just seems like the Big Ten just doesn't know what to do when it comes to like trying to go hire a head coach. Because I mean, does Matt Campbell at Penn State do anything for you guys? Or like, I tend to think like that's just James Franklin, like adjacent at best, or James Franklin light. And that's not where you want to live.
To me, I mean, I'll answer that question. Matt Campbell has won big games by being able to beat Oklahoma and Texas while he's at Iowa State. So I think that inherently means he's better. Maybe not inherently, but I think it's a fine coach. I think he's always been a good coach. Does he lose his mind on the sideline every once in a while? Yes, it's very meme-worthy. But to see what he's built at that school and before he was there, to me is, I mean, if you go and you hire the best coach in a different school's history, I think you're doing pretty good, on that side. I think he's good. He's from the area, that Midwest stuff. So you never know how the stuff's going to get. I think it's a good hire. You don't know what's going to happen, I guess is the best way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. If Ohio State is a one-sided program, that'll open the door for Matt Campbell to beat them, just like it did for him at Iowa State when he would beat OU the 2 times. It's like, yeah, they had a shitty fucking defense. Of course, there's a chance when you can't tackle anybody. So it happens. Any final thoughts, gents? All righty. Well, we're fully in off-season mode now. So yay. I guess one more on-air production meeting, because Peyton, you asked this in our Discord a few days ago. So let's answer the question right now. In the event Joe John Finley is fired, should we jump on a no-cap recap if we are all available? Is a position coach enough to warrant an emergency podcast?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, maybe a coordinator, but no, I don't think so.
I know, like, Seth Luttrell got fired on Sunday, right? After the South Carolina game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had already recorded No Cap Recap, and then we had to jump on like an hour later after. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Then
Then again, to be fair, Joe John Finley has been the offensive coordinator of this program. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're right. Who knows? It just depends on what happens that particular day. But stick with us here at Through the Keyhole. We greatly appreciate you guys listening or watching along on YouTube. Just go check out our YouTube page, Keyhole Sports. Type in Through the Keyhole, Oklahoma. You'll find our YouTube page. If you'd like to watch after the fact, if you're not a patron, didn't jump on the live stream, feel free to go ahead and watch. We appreciate that. But of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we appreciate that as well. But don't forget, if you've not done so, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Has Hanukkah already happened? If so, I hope you had a happy Hanukkah, or if it's continuing, I hope you continue to have one, or if it's not happened yet, I hope you have a happy one. Whatever you celebrate this time of year, I hope it's happy. We'll of course be on before New Year's, so I'll wish you all a happy New Year's when that time comes. But for the absent Matt Burton, for Alan Kinney, Peyton Guthrie, myself, Brady Trantham, everybody, thank you so much for listening to Through the Keyhole. Until next time, Boomer.
Sooner.